Do you believe a CEO could be kicked out of the very store they founded, simply because they were dressed too casually? Sunlight poured down Rodeo Drive like a golden carpet, laid out for those deemed elegant enough to walk upon it. Amid this lavish setting stood an Asian man with a calm expression in front of the Maison Noire boutique, the very fashion brand he himself had founded. He wore no designer suit, no Italian shoes, no assistant by his side. Just a faded windbreaker, worn out jeans and sneakers with frayed heels. Slung over his shoulder was an old Maison Noire tote bag, the kind that looked like it had been forgotten in storage for years. His name was Nathaniel Joe, 46 years old, CEO and founder of Maison Noire, the brand hailed as a symbol of East meets West fashion. But that morning, no one recognized him. In truth, they didn't even bother to look closely. Stepping into the marble and crystal-covered boutique, Nathaniel approached the reception desk, where a young woman with platinum blonde hair tapped intently on a tablet. The nameplate in front of her read, "Chloe, Client Experience Specialist." In the bright lights of the boutique, Chloe glanced at him briefly before speaking in a sweet but hollow tone. "I'm sorry, we're currently only seeing clients with appointments. Please scan the QR code to book a visit for next week." Nathaniel offered a gentle smile, his voice sincere. "I'm just visiting my niece nearby. I've admired Maison Noire since the early days and wanted to stop by to see the new collection, maybe pick up a gift." Chloe's expression didn't change. She lifted her chin slightly, as if putting a firm end to the conversation. "I'm sorry, we only serve Maison Black members and premium clients. Regrettably, we can't assist you today." Nathaniel froze for a moment, not because he was turned away, but because he had just seen something far worse. The boutique he once created to welcome everyone had now become a silent fortress, shutting out those who didn't meet a certain standard. Behind Chloe, the stylists stood idle, chatting casually, the accessories counter empty, no clients in sight. And yet the founder of this place, the man who once hung every light and arranged every shelf, was now treated like someone who didn't belong, unworthy of stepping inside. What they didn't know was that the door they had just closed would mark the beginning of a reckoning no one could have seen coming. That same afternoon, the top floor of the Maison Noire Tower in downtown Manhattan was bathed in golden sunset light. In the glass, walled office overlooking the radiant skyline, Nathaniel Joe stood still, his eyes fixed on the tablet screen, flickering with graphs. Beneath the dazzling numbers was an anomaly that made his heart sink. Revenue from the Beverly Hills store had surged, but walk in traffic had dropped by more than 60% in the last quarter. For a store once built on the spirit of connection and approachability, this was a troubling sign. "Vivian," he called softly. His assistant, Vivian Tran, stepped in, her sharp eyes framed behind slender glasses. Nathaniel didn't need to say much. She had long since learned to read his worries by the tone of his voice. He simply handed her the device. Just a few swipes and an analysis later, Vivian frowned. "It doesn't add up," she said, "unless they're selling fewer items at triple the price." Another flick of her hand, then she paused. 17 direct complaints in the past 3 weeks. Nathaniel's brow furrowed. "About what?" Vivian tilted the screen toward him. The accounts came into view. A fashion blogger had flown in from Arizona just to buy a limited edition bag, only to be stopped at the door for not having an appointment. A middle-aged woman was scanned from head to toe by a staff member who told her, "We don't serve walk-ins." A college student who had saved for 4 months to buy a Maison Noire shirt was turned away because he wore worn-out Vans. There had been no directive from headquarters mandating a VIP-only model. All official guidelines encouraged a friendly, inclusive approach with no customer tiering. So who had issued the silent order? "Who's managing that location?" Nathaniel asked. "Damien Cole," Vivian replied, "former regional supervisor for New York. I've reached out, but his assistant keeps saying he's in back-to-back client meetings." Nathaniel turned toward the glass wall. His reflection stretched long, not of a powerful CEO, but of a simple man. In it, he saw himself from 17 years ago, the young man in a stained apron, stacking inventory, and staying up all night to press the first layers of Maison Noire fabric. "Cancel all my meetings tomorrow," he said quietly. Vivian looked up. "Even the investor report session?" "Especially that one." He adjusted his collar, his gaze darkening. "And find me an outfit that makes them not recognize me. Tomorrow, I'm going to see whether a regular person, no designer bag, no VIP card, is still welcome at Maison Noire." Early the next morning, a grey SUV with no identifying plates pulled up in front of an office building just a few blocks from Rodeo Drive. Nathaniel Joe stepped out, no longer in a suit or a 6-figure watch. Instead, he wore a faded T-shirt, an old windbreaker, and sneakers that had lost their color. A frayed tote bag hung loosely from his shoulder, as if he were just another tourist passing by. Inside the temporary office, 2 people were already waiting. Mark Eldridge, head of internal security, and Jenny Lee, an IT specialist who had been undercover as a store associate for the past 3 weeks. "You saw it for yourself?" Mark asked as the door clicked shut. Nathaniel gave a slight nod. "Now it's time we look deeper." Jenny pulled up a dashboard, the glow of raw data casting light across her face. There was never any directive from headquarters about an appointment-only policy. Damien made it up. No internal emails, no formal procedures, just a few text messages exchanged with the front desk. She clicked over to the CRM system. They created 3 customer tiers, Platinum, Gold, and Standard, but they weren't based on sales history or spending patterns. They were based on, she hesitated, appearance. Nathaniel narrowed his eyes. "Be specific." "Car type, wristwatch brand, online visibility, even zip code." Anyone who didn't match the image criteria was labeled standard and instantly denied access to the showroom. Mark added, "The person doing most of the tagging was Chloe, the receptionist you met. 6 months ago, she worked as a concierge at a 5-star hotel. No retail experience." Jenny switched to another screen, showing a list of 143 clients who had been turned away in just 1 month. "And that's not all," she said. "Damien and his team increased prices by 30% for platinum clients under the guise of Maison Black exclusive services. Same items, same quality, but relabeled as limited editions to create false scarcity." Nathaniel stared at the screen. Every row of data felt like a cut. What he saw wasn't just abuse. It was the slow transformation of Maison Noire into everything he once vowed it would never be, a symbol of exclusion, vanity, and cold pretense. Keep going, he said. I want this entire system stripped bare, down to its roots. A small side room opened. David Kim, the finance specialist embedded in the boutique's accounting department, stood up from his laptop, the light from the screen reflecting off his thin-framed glasses. I found a double ledger system, David said. One version of the reports is sent to headquarters, but the real data is encrypted and stored locally. He placed 2 spreadsheets side by side. Customers labeled as standard, meaning those pushed out the door, were redirected to 3 competing boutiques nearby. And every time someone made a purchase there, Damien and Chloe received a $500 commission. Nathaniel clenched his fists, his lips tightening. They weren't just turning customers away. They were selling our clients to competitors. Jenny nodded, then switched to a clip from the security cameras. A tall man, dressed head to toe in luxury brands, entered the store, greeted warmly by Chloe, and escorted straight inside. Nathaniel recognized the face immediately. Jason Langford. Real name's Jeremy Moss, Jenny replied. Freelance actor, once appeared in a cologne commercial. Damien's been hiring him as a fake platinum client. He comes in every Friday, poses for pictures with new handbags, but never actually pays. It's all staged for social media. The screen lit up with a flood of posts. Maison Black, #exclusive. Privilege, #an experience. Not for everyone. Jenny spoke softly. They're manufacturing a sense of deliberate exclusion, so customers crave acceptance. It's all a FOMO strategy. Fear of missing out. Nathaniel stood silently for a moment. Then he spoke. They think they're building a brand, but what they're doing is killing its soul. They don't understand that the first thing I designed for Maison Noire wasn't the color palette. It was the spirit of welcome. And now people like them have drowned it in artificial shine. He turned to Mark. Send all the evidence to legal. Notify internal communications. And call Isabel Rowe from the Capital Journal. What should I tell her? Mark asked. Nathaniel gave a faint smile, his eyes razor-sharp. If she wants an exclusive story about how Maison Noire is confronting internal corruption, tell her to meet me at the boutique at 2 p.m. and get the car ready. I'm going back, this time, no disguise. At exactly 2 p.m., a luxury SUV bearing the Maison Noire emblem pulled up in front of the Beverly Hills boutique. 3 other vehicles followed closely behind, stirring a wave of curiosity along the city's most exclusive shopping street. Inside the store, Chloe remained at the reception desk, fingers gliding across the screen. She didn't look up until the glass doors swung open and the boutique suddenly fell silent. Standing before her was a man completely transformed, a charcoal grey suit, impeccably tailored, a midnight blue silk tie that matched the brand's emblem, and polished Italian shoes that glided effortlessly across the marble floor. On his wrist, a limited edition watch worth more than Chloe's annual salary. But what left her frozen wasn't the outfit. It was the eyes, calm, composed, yet carrying an undeniable presence. Ms. Myers, Nathaniel said, his voice gentle as a breeze. I believe I have an appointment today. Behind him stood Mark Eldridge with his internal security badge, Patricia Lee, head of legal, holding a folder, Marcus Bell, regional director, expression unreadable, and Isabel Rowe from the Capital Journal, her camera already rolling. Chloe scrambled to her feet, knocking over her chair in the process. We weren't informed you'd be coming. So appointments aren't required? Nathaniel asked softly. From the fitting room, Damien Cole stepped out mid-conversation with Jason Langford. His face turned pale in an instant. "Mr. Joe," he murmured, forcing a smile. "What a surprise." "I'm just dropping by," Nathaniel said, removing his sunglasses, his gaze cutting through the boutique's carefully polished facade. "Hope I'm not disturbing anyone." Jason Langford quietly tried to slip away, only to be blocked by Mark. No one spoke. Stylists, clients, employees, all stood frozen. Nathaniel walked straight to the center of the showroom. "I'm Nathaniel Joe," he said clearly, "CEO and founder of Maison Noire, and today I've returned to reclaim what we've lost." The air inside the boutique thickened after Nathaniel's introduction. Damien Cole tried to maintain his composure, but his hands couldn't stop twisting the hem of his blazer. "Sir, if there's been any misunderstanding, I'd be happy to explain." "Oh, I'm sure you'll have the opportunity," Nathaniel cut in, his gaze sweeping across the room. "Right after I share a few things with everyone here." He gestured for Patricia to open the folder. "We've uncovered a double ledger system, an unofficial policy of customer discrimination, an internal tagging system designed to exclude those who didn't match the brand image, along with suspicious commission agreements with competitors. All of it has been documented." Damien flushed red, but said nothing. A young stylist with black-rimmed glasses stepped forward. "My name is Lucas Hahn. I tried to report this, but was threatened with being blacklisted from the industry." Another employee, a brunette with a steady gaze, joined him. "Lisa Herrera. I was suspended just for serving a walk in customer. Chloe said I was ruining the brand experience." Nathaniel gave a small nod, looking at them both. "Thank you. It's the courage of people like you that has preserved what little soul Maison Noire still has." He turned back to Damien and Chloe. "Both of you, your contracts are officially terminated, effective immediately." Murmurs rippled through the boutique. Chloe stepped back, her hands clenched tightly, while Damien tried to keep his voice steady. "I'm the one who brought this boutique to its peak in sales," Marcus Bell replied coldly, "and also the one who cost us thousands of potential clients and millions in brand value." Nathaniel signaled to security. "Escort them out, now." As Damien and Chloe were led away, not a single person in the boutique came to their defense. All eyes now followed Nathaniel, not just the man who reclaimed his store, but the one who reignited something they thought had long been lost: dignity and justice. The next morning, before the boutique opened its doors, Nathaniel Joe was already there. He hadn't come to check revenue, but to feel something that couldn't be measured: the spirit. The glass doors opened, and there were no more velvet ropes, no more cold reception desks. In their place stood a simple wooden table in the right corner, where a young staff member greeted guests with a warm smile. No appointments required, no QR codes, no invisible lines separating those allowed in from those deemed unworthy. The showroom had returned to its original design, an open, welcoming space where collections from everyday wear to haute couture were displayed side by side. Lisa Herrera was now in charge of the display area. She gently guided an elderly woman choosing a silk scarf for her granddaughter's graduation. In the fitting area, Lucas Hahn was helping a teenage boy select a suit for his first job interview. There were no judgments based on shoes or handbags, only genuine care and attention. The barista, who once served only premium clients, was now chatting with a young student holding the first free espresso of his life. Nathaniel stood next to Marcus Bell near the accessories section. "They're not just selling products," Marcus said softly. "They're rebuilding trust." Nathaniel nodded slightly. He looked around. The staff were listening, truly engaging with customers. The light in the boutique today didn't just come from crystal chandeliers, but from the way people looked at one another, with respect, not suspicion. An elderly woman entered, walking slowly, holding a worn-out handbag. A new associate smiled and welcomed her. "How may I help you today, ma'am?" The woman hesitated. "I came here once, was turned away because I didn't have an appointment." The associate gently took her hand, warm and reassuring. "You don't need an appointment anymore, ma'am. We're truly glad to have you." Nathaniel pressed his lips together and looked up at the new sign above the entrance. "Maison Noire. Everyone is welcome." At last his home had returned to its true meaning. That afternoon, Nathaniel Joe stood before a large screen in the boutique's conference room, where regional managers from across the country had joined via video call. On the screen were tense, cautious faces, everyone waiting for something significant. "Yesterday," Nathaniel began, "we were forced to confront a bitter truth. Success in numbers cannot hide failure in values." He paced slowly in front of the presentation screen, his voice calm but each word resolute. "That's why today I'm announcing the launch of a mandatory system-wide program, the Maison Welcome Standard." 3 bold words appeared on the slide: transparency, inclusion, respect. Nathaniel explained that from now on, all Maison Noire boutiques would adopt a non-discriminatory guest process. No silent categorization would be allowed, and all customer feedback would be sent directly to headquarters through an online display system, unfiltered, unedited. Every staff member, from receptionists to store managers, would participate in a new training program, not about sales techniques, but about the ethics of hospitality. A regional director in Seattle gave a quiet nod. Another, in Chicago, unmuted and simply said, "This should have happened a long time ago." The meeting ended with a rare sense of shared purpose. But the most moving moment came just after, when Nathaniel stepped out onto the boutique floor. A middle-aged woman in a charcoal cardigan stood quietly near the entrance, holding a cloth bag, her eyes filled with hesitation. Nathaniel started toward her, but before he could reach her, Lucas Hahn stepped forward, bowed gently, and smiled. "Good afternoon, ma'am. Is there something I can help you find today?" The woman replied softly, "My daughter just got promoted. I want to find something that will make her feel proud." Lucas nodded, his tone warm. "Then let's find something truly perfect for her. Together. No platinum labels, no zip code checks, no judgments about shoes or brands. Only respect and a genuine welcome." Nathaniel smiled faintly. Maison Welcome. Not a slogan, but a promise finally taking shape. That weekend, the Maison Noire boutique in Beverly Hills recorded its highest foot traffic in 18 months. But what had everyone talking wasn't the sales numbers or special offers. It was the atmosphere. In a place once labeled a locked castle, there was now soft laughter, warm greetings, and small gestures that truly touched the heart. No more condescending glances. No more selective espresso service. Now, even a college student shopping for a birthday gift for his mother received the same thoughtful assistance as a VIP. Kevin Liu, now the director of customer experience, was helping a teenage boy pick out a shirt for his first date. The boy stood shyly in front of the mirror, but broke into a bright smile when Kevin adjusted the collar and gave an approving nod. Perfect. Across the showroom, Lisa Herrera chatted cheerfully with a group of young women selecting dresses for a bachelorette party. No one was judged by what they wore. No one was asked if they had an appointment. Nathaniel stood by the accessories section, sipping coffee from the very bar that had once symbolized exclusivity. He watched the small moments unfold, glances exchanged, sincere thank yous, service that came not from a training manual but from a renewed sense of pride. Feels different, Marcus Bell remarked. Because it is different, Nathaniel replied. A little while later, the elderly gentleman from the other day returned with his wife, his eyes no longer hesitant. She loved the bag, he said. She told me she walked into her first day of work and didn't feel small anymore. Nathaniel gave his hand a gentle squeeze. Then we chose well. No need for accolades, no headlines, just one confident look from a customer. That was enough. In the late afternoon, sunlight streamed at an angle through the boutique's large glass windows, casting a warm golden glow across the stone floor. Staff members moved calmly through the space, tidying up the last items of the day, adjusting mannequins, wiping down the glass counters. No one was rushing. No one looked tired. Nathaniel Joe stood near the exit, hands in his pockets, eyes following every corner he had once designed by hand. This place had once exuded a cold, luxurious beauty. Now it felt warmer, more welcoming, like a home with its doors open to all. A group of young customers exited the boutique, turning back to smile and wave at the staff. An elderly woman paused outside to take a photo in front of the large sign hanging by the door, the one that now read, Maison Noire. Everyone is welcome. Marcus Bell stepped up beside him and spoke softly. We could have brought in managers from corporate, you know that. But you chose the ones who were once overlooked. Nathaniel smiled, because they understand better than anyone what it feels like to be ignored. And they're the ones who truly value every forgotten customer. He stepped into the center of the boutique. All the staff looked up as they heard his voice. I have something to share before I leave. His eyes moved across every face, from seasoned stylists to interns who had only started yesterday. We built this brand to help people feel strong and confident in what they wear. But strength doesn't come from a logo. It comes from the way we look at each other, not to judge, but to understand and serve with respect. He paused, his tone lower now, more reflective. No strategy is worth pursuing if it costs us our kindness, and no sales figure is more valuable than a person's dignity. Then he turned and walked toward the door. A young staff member smiled brightly, holding it open for him. Have a wonderful evening, sir. Nathaniel paused and nodded. I already am. And with that, he stepped out. Not as someone once turned away for how he looked, but as the man who helped Maison Noire rediscover who it was meant to be. Respect should never come with conditions. If you believe that, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment saying nothing but worthy.